Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Welcome to 2019, my friends, and the fully engaged life. Welcome back to the show, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of 2019, the year of the boar. Back in December, I promised more practices for you, right? Well, how have you been doing with them so far? Have you continued to engage the New Year's resolution of no longer talking about your problems, but instead talking about the things that you really enjoy, the things that bring you happiness? Or have you already slipped and forgotten? Forgetting is a basic problem with spiritual practices, especially in our busy world. We often get so wrapped up in daily life and the stresses thereof that we simply forget. Yeah, we just simply forget to do it. It slips our mind. While this is certainly true, let me state that it is not a valid excuse. Just because it happens doesn't make it a valid excuse. You see, when we cultivate a sense of mindfulness, which I have been teaching now for many years through this show alone, let alone the decades I've been teaching it in person to students and clients, you see, when you attain that mindfulness, you are able to attain the ability to remember your practices. Yeah, that's one of the benefits. It's a lack of mindfulness that allows us to so easily forget and slip back into our old negative habitual behaviors. So how are you doing with that one? I hope you're having a tremendous amount of success and already noticing a big change in your life. You see, these are the type of changes that we need to invoke in order to live a fully engaged life. How are you doing on the second practice that I shared? You remember, the one using confession as a daily spiritual practice? That's a truly powerful practice, and I hope you give it the attention it deserves, as it has many rewards to offer you. So you've already gotten 2 daily practices. Today I'll provide you with a third. If you were to do all 3 of these practices consistently, every day, without fail, without excuse, great changes await you. The ability to begin living a fully engaged life awaits you. And after all, isn't that why you're here listening to this show? Spiritual expansion can be considered to be the highest and most gracious responsibility of humanity. The purpose of spirituality is the greatest realization of ultimate truth through our own direct personal experience, which leads us to awakening. The ever-unfolding awakening process is a path that we walk in order to remember and consciously reconnect to our true self and the ultimate universal truth. This path requires us to perfect our character through the wisdom that's attained from the knowledge and experience that we gather along the way as we continue working towards spiritual expansion. And it is this spiritual expansion that is often overlooked or outrightly ignored as the obligation of every human being. That's right, this is an obligation that we have as human beings. We understand that the practices are usually somatic in nature, as spiritual expansion involves the body every bit as much as it does the mind and the spirit. Through engaging the various authentic practices, we unify our body and mind in order to attain access to the realm of the spirit, our pure conscious awareness. The body is not in opposition to the mind or the spirit. It's actually an important part of the spiritual practices. Nothing proves this better than the breath. The breath is a crucial function of the body, of course, and imperative to our spiritual practices. While the breath itself is a physical action taking place in the body, we can look at the Latin term for the breath, which is spiritus, and this clearly indicates the sacred nature of this typically unconscious process. In spirituality, the breath is used as one of the greatest tools within our practices, as it helps us to connect the physical to the spiritual. And of course, the spiritual is that of our conscious awareness. And believe me, no one understands the importance of the breath as much as someone who has slipped into unconsciousness and even died for a few moments from being unable to breathe, which I myself experienced as a young teenager. After an incident like that, you can't help but have a tremendous sense of deep respect and appreciation for the ability to breathe. And it was after that I set out to not only understand but to master the breathing process and to understand its role in spiritual attainment. And trust me, this is one of those instances where that statement, "you don't know what you have till it's gone," really applies because everyone generally takes the breath for granted, never paying any attention to how they breathe and what they're doing, and it's a very unconscious thing. And it's that way because it's handled through the autonomic nervous system, right? So we know that. However, remember that spiritual expansion, awakening, is about bridging the conscious and the unconscious and making the unconscious conscious, where we can have direct personal experience with it. And the breath is one of, if not the very best tool in our spiritual toolbox. So I would like to share another authentic practice with you. And this practice is simple and easy, and it's a form of meditative practice. Now, like I've stated in the past, many people just refer to this as meditation, but this is not meditation. And remember, here's the way you can tell. Whenever you are doing something, whenever you're engaging the mind and you're doing something, it is a meditative practice. There's always some kind of process you're going through and some goal to be attained. This is not the case with actual meditation. In meditation, you are doing nothing. You are trying to do nothing. So this is another practice that is meant to be performed daily, or at the very, very least, 3 to 4 times a week. How long you spend with the practice is completely up to you and your schedule. Personally, this is one that I performed for several years on a daily basis. Yeah, it's that important. For many, it seems to be increasingly difficult to shut out the distractions of the outer world and engage something like a meditative practice. Well, this is a wonderful and natural activity for human beings. Today, it's being considered to be unbearable torture. Can you imagine that? It's getting increasingly difficult for people to be alone with themselves. They consider it mental torture. This is completely unnatural. And it speaks to the deteriorating state of the human mind at this time in history, and it's highly disturbing. And we know that all of this mental stimulation is being placed in front of us for a reason. And it's more imperative than ever that we keep in mind that the silence, our tranquility, our sense of inner peace is far more important than any distractions or entertainment that can be placed in front of us. Indeed, this is what we should be focusing on more than all that other stuff. This is where we need to have our attention. So for all those who think that being alone with yourself and trying to engage in meditative practice or meditation is painful and torturous, that's really heartbreaking. It's a very sad thing. But since you are here, I think it's safe to assume that you don't fall into that category, do you? So, excellent. So, for those of you who are newer to meditative practices, I would recommend allowing your eyes to very lightly close. Don't squeeze them. Don't try so hard. Just allow your eyes to gently close, kind of like they do when you fall asleep at night. So that's what you want your eyes to do for this practice. For those of you who are more advanced, the eyes should remain half open and looking down basically on a 45-degree angle. I find that generally, if the eyes are looking down at the baseboards, it's pretty good. It's going to get you on the angle you want. The important thing is to make sure that you keep your spine and your neck straight. Don't lean your head down on that 45-degree angle. Allow the eyeballs themselves to turn down on that 45-degree angle. Okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to sit comfortably. Remember, turn off the phone. You don't need tech for this. Find a spot that's comfortable and quiet so you're not interrupted by people or pets. Yes, they'll all survive a few moments without you, trust me. Then you're going to relax and take 3 deep, mindful breaths in and out, allowing the air to enter through the nostrils as you gently tuck your tongue to the palate. Make sure that you do not force, restrict, or hold the breath at any point. Relax and allow these deep breaths to be as natural as possible. When you take these 3 deep breaths, enjoy them. Enjoy the feeling. Enjoy the freedom that breathing offers. Don't get caught up in trying to do it. Just simply do it. After these 3 deep breaths, you're going to place all of your mental focus on the breath process itself. You're going to coordinate your mind with the body through the breath by reciting the following simple phrase. Breathing in, breathing out. This is, of course, coordinated with your breath process. You can take long, deep breaths or shorter breaths, depending on what you're physically capable of or what you feel most natural doing at the moment. Just enjoy the feeling of conscious breathing and try to hold your mind steady on the breath, observing the process for as long as you can without allowing the mind to wander. You're going to increase your ability to concentrate and focus the mind through disciplining it in this simple way. As you continue to observe the breath, there is no judgment, no visualization, no imagination, no thing else. No thing else. There's nothing to do. Just breathe and be aware of the breath as you continue to repeat breathing in, breathing out, coordinated with the breathing process. Now, the egoic mind believes that it's the master, so it often causes the mind to go into such distractive mental activities as visualizations or imagination. It does that in order to break the concentration of the practice and maintain its sense of control over your mind. The ego doesn't particularly embrace what it perceives as external control of it, which is, of course, really you controlling the mind. Continue to breathe and recite, breathing in, breathing out. Settle into your body. Feel your entire body as it breathes. Feel the aliveness of the body. Feel the air as it's drawn into you through the nose on the inhalation, and feel it as it escapes through the nose on the exhalation, totally unimpeded. Feel your abdomen rise and fall as you breathe. Take this time to reconnect to your physical form and appreciate it. Feel as your body, your breath, your mind all unite in the same conscious, harmonious action. This state of harmony is an important step in your spiritual cultivation. You're going to perform this first part until you get good at it. You should be able to hold this for quite some time. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. This is not practicing. Okay? It takes more time than that. So I know today with everybody's instant gratification and fast food society, everybody tries to say, oh, as long as you're doing 3 minutes or if you do a 60-second, none of that is meditation. None of it. Nor is it a legitimate practice. Okay? I'm talking do this for, actually, the process is going to unfold. You're going to reach this sense of harmony on its own, naturally. So you simply have to keep doing this until it happens, until you feel this. Now, for most people, it's going to kick in somewhere between 15 and 20, 25 minutes. So if that's all the time you have, then at least work on this first part, get this down. And then you'll notice that over time, it'll start to come quicker. But just plowing your way through the exercise, getting to the second half and going through it isn't going to work. It isn't going to yield the results. To maximize your efforts and get maximum results, what you want to do is allow the process to unfold naturally. This is why we call it a practice. You keep engaging it so that you get better and better and better at it. So in the beginning, it may take some time. It may take a lot of time. It may be very difficult or challenging at first, but I assure you it's really not. And it's easy to get a sense of mastery for this type of practice. All you have to do is continue doing it. That's why it's prescribed as a daily practice. Okay, so once you get that point where you feel this sense of harmony between your body, your breath, and your mind, you feel everything uniting in harmony. At that moment, that's when you're going to change your affirmation. At that moment, when you start to feel that, you're going to recite, breathing in, experiencing tranquility. Breathing out, experiencing tranquility. Now, I know this is a part where the ego kicks in and people say, well, that sounds like a bunch of fluff. It is not, I assure you. What we are doing is once we attain this sense of inner harmony is we're taking it to a deeper level, and we want to attain a sense of serenity, of inner tranquility. And that is taking things to a deeper level that allows us to get past the mind and access our consciousness. This was designed to be simple. If it's overly complex or shrouded in mystery, it won't work. Okay? All of that stuff, when we want it to be complicated, we want it to seem magical, that's all the ego. And the ego wants this stuff because it knows it's not going to work. You'll fail. See, so if we keep it simple and we know exactly how to word things in the terms that we're looking for, which are provided for us in the practices, then we can have the results we desire. Okay? So you're going to continue to recite the second affirmation, breathing in, experiencing tranquility, breathing out, experiencing tranquility. You're going to continue to recite that as you drift deeper into this state of inner calm. The only thing that exists in this moment is a warm sense of peace in the present moment. This is what you want to naturally attain. Once you have attained that, you're going to maintain this practice until you lose all sense of time. This allows the concept of time to simply fade away as you maintain your sense of self in this practice. How wonderful this inner peace and tranquility feels. Feel the inner state of joy that naturally arises from this level of tranquility. This lets you know that you are now in the second level of this practice. See, the trigger for the first level that lets us know is that we naturally attain this state of harmony where we can actually feel the physical sensation as well as as a sense of awareness for our body, breath, and mind all uniting in the same harmonious action. Then we change the affirmation until we reach a sense where we just start to feel so good, so much peace, joy, tranquility, that time itself slips away, fades away, leaving us in the moment. You will also notice that I did not use I in the beginning of these affirmations. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, I'm breathing in, experiencing tranquility, I'm breathing out, experiencing tranquility. Leave the I off. Leave the I am out. Just get to the action. Okay? We don't want to include the I because it automatically triggers the ego. And we're trying to maintain control of the mind without the ego butting in and trying to take it over from us, right? So it likes to do that sort of thing. So we've got to watch. So make sure that you don't add that in. Simply recite these affirmations precisely the way I'm sharing them with you, and you will get better results. Now, you can sit in that state of inner tranquility and joy for as long as you want. This is a wonderful practice to help relieve stress. It's a wonderful practice to keep our mind strong and make sure that we get out of our head a little bit at the same time. Remember, the mind is not in your head. The mind is not the brain. The mind has no physical location, right? So you can enjoy that practice as long as you want or your time allows. Sit and enjoy that feeling and then breathe for as long as you're comfortable doing so. When you finish, just relax the mind. Let go of the affirmation and sit quietly for a moment. Take 3 more deep, mindful breaths as you reconnect to time as well as your physical body and the physical world around you. Always make sure that you open your eyes slowly so the light doesn't come in harshly, and make sure above all that you rise onto your feet very slowly so you don't fall. It's not unusual to have the feet or legs fall asleep during these practices, or even become slightly dizzy due to the amount of work that you've been doing with the breath. So be cautious, be careful here. But that's it. That's the practice. Through this, we start to bridge the conscious and the unconscious. And we start to bring them together, and we unite the conscious with the unconscious. And this is one of the first crucial steps to bringing the unconscious into the conscious where we can work with it. So there you go, January. And you already have 3 daily practices, new daily practices to work with. So while I've shared this before with the breathing, I've not shared this particular one along with the second level. So please make sure you do the first level, get good at that, and then go to the second level, and make sure that you realize that those triggers must happen naturally. You can't seek them out. You can't try to force them to happen. You have to just recognize that those sensations arise, and then it's at that time that you realize, now I can go to the next phase, or that I can relish this and stay here for a moment, and then I'm done, right? So allow it to be natural. That's a huge key. When we go against nature, then we pay the price. And in the case of our spiritual practices, that price is failure. So we are going towards success, and I wish you all the success in these practices. Please make sure and visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. Grab that Appreciation Mastery program. It is super powerful. You won't regret it. You can also get autographed copies of my books there. I highly recommend that. And if you want to engage the breath bridge with these type of practices, that program is available on my website as well. I am going to be working at putting all of this into MP3 format for you as well. Still working on it. I'm just incredibly busy, but I will have all this stuff available for those of you who like the digital version of such things. Also, make sure to help us out on social media by sharing these podcasts, these practices. Get them out there, share them to everyone you know. I need your help to do that. We need to band together to be able to keep real, honest, authentic spirituality alive. We need to be able to help people maintain a sense of sacredness in their lives in order to help them protect their humanity. So you can do that by sharing this podcast, by hitting the like and subscribe and all those other buttons, by leaving positive comments on there, by leaving positive reviews for my book. All of that stuff helps get out there to everyone and spread the word, and I appreciate you greatly for helping me share this with the world, as well as engaging these practices for yourself. So until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your practices and your life. Take care.